Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Meridian and watched the stars through the main display. The year was 2387, and humanity had been quietly moving through space for over 200 years. They had a simple rule that every human ship followed: watch but do not interfere with alien life. Jake had been commanding deep space missions for 15 years. His ship was part of humanity's secret fleet that mapped the galaxy and studied other species from a safe distance. The aliens did not know humans existed beyond their home planet Earth. This was exactly how Earth's government wanted it to stay. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jake's crew was small but skilled. Dr. Lisa Park worked at the science station studying quantum readings from nearby space. She was the smartest person Jake had ever met and could solve problems that stumped entire research teams back on Earth at the communications. Desk sat Ben Hayes. He spent his days listening to alien radio signals and learning their languages. Ben could speak 47 different alien languages and understand twice that many. His job was to make sure the Meridian stayed invisible while gathering information. Engineer Sam Rodriguez was down in the engine room, keeping their advanced systems running smoothly. Sam could fix anything and had saved their lives more times than Jake could count. The man had a gift for making impossible repairs with whatever materials he could find. Pilot Sarah Kim sat at the helm controls ready to move the ship at a moment's notice. She was the best pilot in the human fleet and could fly through asteroid fields that would destroy other ships. Sarah had nerves of steel and reflexes that seemed almost superhuman. The Galactic Coalition controlled most of known space. They were a group of 47 different alien species that worked together. The Coalition thought they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They had powerful ships and weapons and considered themselves peaceful and wise. What the Coalition did not know was that humans had been watching them for nearly a century. Human ships hid in asteroid belts and behind moons. They used advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Earth scientists had learned everything about Coalition technology by studying their ships from a distance. The Coalition had records about Earth, but those records were very old. Ancient robot probes had visited Earth centuries ago when humans were just learning to build simple rockets. The aliens thought humans were still stuck on one planet and could barely fly to their own moon. Jake looked at the star charts on his screen. The Meridian was near the edge of Coalition space in a region called the Outer Rim. This area had fewer ships and less traffic, which made it perfect for human exploration. They had been mapping this sector for 3 months without seeing a single alien vessel. "Captain," Ben said suddenly from his station. His voice was tense and he was adjusting his headset with quick movements. "I'm picking up a distress signal." Jake turned toward the communications officer. "Source?" "Kepler Station," Ben replied while his fingers worked across his control panel. "It's a Coalition research outpost about 6 light-years from here." Dr. Park looked up from her science station. "Kepler Station studies dangerous quantum phenomena. They work with space-time rifts and other experimental technology." Jake walked over to Ben's station. "What kind of distress?" Ben listened to his headset for a moment, then his face went pale. "Their rift generator has malfunctioned. They're saying something about an expanding tear in space-time. Transfer the signal to the main speakers," Jake ordered. The bridge filled with panicked alien voices speaking in the clicking language of the Alterran Republic. Ben quickly translated the words as they came through the speakers. "Emergency. Quantum rift expanding beyond containment. Request immediate evacuation. Space-time becoming unstable. Estimate 72 hours before cascade failure." Dr. Park was already working at her station pulling up data about quantum rifts and their effects. "Captain, if a quantum rift goes critical, it could destabilize space across several light-years. Any inhabited systems in the area would be destroyed." Jake felt a cold weight in his stomach. "How many people are on Kepler Station?" "Records show over 800 researchers from 12 different species," Ben answered after checking his database. "Where is the nearest Coalition fleet?" Jake asked. Ben checked the military frequencies and his expression grew grim. "The closest fleet is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The Coalition doesn't keep many ships in the Outer Rim." Sarah turned in her pilot seat to face Jake. "Captain, we could reach Kepler Station in 18 hours. Jake stared at the star chart showing their position relative to the research station. 800 lives hung in the balance. The Coalition fleet was too far away to help. The only ship close enough to make a difference was the Meridian. But helping would mean revealing humanity's presence in the galaxy. Earth's government had spent centuries building their secret observation network. If aliens learned that humans had advanced technology and ships throughout the galaxy, it would change everything. Dr. Park stood up from her station. Captain, I've been studying quantum rift theory for 10 years. I might be able to help them stabilize their containment field. The Prime Directive forbids contact, Jake said quietly. The Prime Directive also says we should preserve life when possible, Dr. Park replied. Sir, if that rift goes critical, it could create a cascade effect. The destruction might not stop at one sector. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. These people had followed him through dangerous missions for years. They trusted his judgment, and he trusted theirs. More than that, they were all humans, and humans did not abandon people in need. Ben was still monitoring the distress signals. Captain, they're getting more desperate. The rift is growing faster than their models predicted. Sam's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. Captain, I've been listening to the signals. Their containment technology is similar to what we use, but much less advanced. I think I could help them. Jake closed his eyes and thought about the decision that would change everything. 800 lives versus humanity's secret. But when he opened his eyes again, he knew what choice he had to make. Sarah, set course for Kepler Station. Maximum velocity? Yes, sir, Sarah replied with a smile. Her hands moved quickly across the helm controls and the Meridian turned toward the distress signal. Ben, monitor all coalition frequencies. I want to know if anyone else responds to their call for help. Already on it, Captain. Dr. Park, start working on solutions for rift containment. Use everything we know about quantum mechanics. I'll have preliminary plans ready by the time we arrive, she promised. Jake sat down in his captain's chair and watched. The stars began to move as the Meridian accelerated toward its destination. In 18 hours, humanity would reveal itself to the galaxy. He just hoped they would be in time to save 800 lives and prevent a disaster that could destroy entire star systems. The age of human secrecy was about to end. The Meridian dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler Station, and Jake Morrison felt his breath catch in his throat. The research station was massive, stretching for miles in every direction like a metal city floating in space. Towers and laboratories connected by long corridors housed scientists from across the galaxy. But what made Jake's blood run cold was the thing hanging in space nearby. The quantum rift looked like a wound in reality itself. Space around it twisted and bent in ways that hurt to look at. Stars visible through the tear appeared stretched and distorted. Lightning-like energy danced around the edges, and every few seconds the rift would pulse larger, before shrinking back to its original size. My God, Dr. Park whispered from her science station. It's bigger than I expected. Sarah Kim guided the Meridian closer to the station while carefully avoiding the rift's influence. Captain, I'm reading massive gravitational distortions. That thing is pulling on everything within 1,000 kilometers. Ben Hayes was already monitoring the station's communications. They're still sending distress calls, but they're getting weaker. I think their power systems are failing. The main screen showed Kepler Station in detail. Several sections were dark, and Jake could see small ships fleeing the station like insects escaping a dying hive. But hundreds of researchers were still trapped inside. Open a channel to the station, Jake ordered. Ben worked at his controls for a moment. Channel open, sir. Kepler Station, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the vessel Meridian. We received your distress call and are here to assist. Static filled the bridge for several seconds before a voice answered. The alien spoke in rapid clicks and hisses that Ben quickly translated through the ship's computer. Unknown vessel, identify your species and authorization codes. This is a coalition emergency and civilians are not permitted in this area. Jake looked at his crew. This was the moment everything changed. Kepler Station. We are humans from Earth. We do not have coalition authorization, but we are here to help. The silence that followed lasted nearly a minute. When the alien voice returned, it sounded shocked and confused. Humans? Your species was catalogued as primitive. How did you reach this location so quickly? Dr. Park stepped forward. Captain, let me talk to them. I understand their technology. Jake nodded, and Dr. Park moved to the communications station. Kepler Station, this is Dr. Lisa Park. I am a quantum physicist, and I believe we can help stabilize your rift containment. Another long pause followed. Then a different voice came through the speakers. This one spoke in heavily accented but understandable human language. "Dr. Park, this is Commander Zeftar of the Alteran Republic. I am the station commander. How is it possible that humans possess faster-than-light travel?" "We can explain later," Dr. Park replied. "Right now we need to focus on your emergency."
Can you send us your containment field specifications?
Yes, transmitting now," Zeftar said. Jake could hear the confusion in the alien's voice. Data began flowing to Dr. Park's station. She studied the information while shaking her head. Their containment technology is decades behind ours. No wonder the rift broke free. Sam Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "Captain, I'm looking at their technical specifications. I can see at least 6 ways to improve their containment field." Jake made his decision. "Commander Zeftar, we're going to dock with your station. My engineer and scientist will work with your team to solve this problem." "Absolutely not," Zeftar replied quickly. "I cannot allow unknown aliens access to a coalition research facility." "Commander," Dr. Park said calmly, "your rift will reach critical mass in approximately 60 hours. Our ship's computer estimates that cascade failure will destroy everything within 5 light years. That includes 3 inhabited star systems." The silence stretched on until Zeftar finally spoke again. "Very well. But you will be monitored at all times and your weapons must remain powered down." "Understood," Jake replied. "Sarah, take us to their docking bay." The Meridian moved slowly toward Kepler Station's main docking area. Through the viewports, Jake could see alien researchers watching their ship with obvious amazement. The human vessel looked nothing like Coalition designs with its smooth curves and advanced materials. "Ben, I want you to monitor all outgoing communications from the station," Jake ordered. "The moment we dock, news of our presence will spread across the galaxy." "Already on it, Captain. I'm detecting increased chatter on Coalition military frequencies." Dr. Park and Sam Rodriguez prepared to leave the ship. They gathered equipment that might help with the rift containment while Jake briefed them on contact protocols. "Remember, we're here to save lives," Jake told them. "But be careful what technology you reveal. We don't know how the Coalition will react to learning about human capabilities." The Meridian settled into the docking bay with a soft thud. Jake watched through cameras as the bay doors sealed and atmosphere filled the space around their ship. Coalition security forces surrounded the docking area but kept their weapons lowered. "Captain," Ben said urgently, "I'm detecting a priority message being transmitted to Coalition High Command. They're reporting first contact with an unknown human vessel." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "How long before that message reaches Coalition space?" 3 hours at faster than light speeds," Ben replied. "Then we have 3 hours before the entire galaxy knows humans are more advanced than they believed," Jake said grimly. The airlock opened, and Dr. Park and Sam Rodriguez stepped onto the station. Jake watched through his ship's cameras as they were met by a group of alien scientists. Commander Zeftar was easy to identify. He was tall and thin with 4 eyes and green-scaled skin that marked him as an Alteran. The alien commander stared at the 2 humans with obvious disbelief. "Your species looks exactly like our old records, but your technology..." He gestured at the Meridian. "How is this possible?" "We've been busy," Sam replied with a slight smile. "Now can you show us your containment systems?" "We don't have much time." As the humans were led deeper into the station, Jake remained on the bridge monitoring communications. Reports were already spreading through Coalition networks. Words like impossible and threat assessment appeared in multiple alien languages. "Captain," Sarah said quietly, "once the Coalition learns we're out here, they'll start looking for other human ships." Jake nodded. Earth's secret observation network included hundreds of vessels hidden throughout the galaxy. If the Coalition began actively searching, they would find evidence of humanity's true expansion. "Ben, send a coded message to Earth. Tell them first contact protocols are now in effect." "Message sent." "Sir?" Jake watched the quantum rift pulse larger on his screen. In the next few hours, his crew would either save 800 alien lives or fail trying. But either way, humanity's age of secrecy was over. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not primitive creatures stuck on one planet. They were a spacefaring civilization that had been watching and learning for centuries, and that knowledge was about to terrify every alien government in known space. Dr. Lisa Park stood in the main laboratory of Kepler Station, surrounded by alien scientists who stared at her with mixtures of amazement and fear. The lab was enormous, with equipment that reached toward the ceiling like metal trees. Holographic displays showed the quantum rift growing larger with each passing hour. Commander Zeftar led her to the central control station where dozens of alien researchers worked frantically. Dr. Park, this is Dr. Nexali, our chief quantum physicist. She has been leading our containment efforts. Dr. Nexali was a member of the crystalline Vorthon species. Her body looked like living glass that sparkled with internal light. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. Dr. Park, your arrival is most unexpected. Our records indicate humans achieved spaceflight only recently. Those records are outdated, Lisa replied while studying the containment field readings. Dr. Nexali, your field generators are operating at only 60% efficiency. The harmonics are completely wrong. The alien scientists' crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. The harmonics were calculated using our most advanced quantum models. Lisa pulled out a small device from her equipment pack. It was a human quantum calculator that could process equations in seconds that would take coalition computers hours to solve. May I run some calculations? Dr. Nexali gestured toward the main console. Please proceed. Lisa connected her device to the alien systems and began inputting new harmonic frequencies. The other scientists gathered around her workspace, watching in stunned silence as she solved problems that had puzzled them for days. There, Lisa said after several minutes. If you adjust your field generators to these frequencies, you should see a 30% improvement in containment stability. Dr. Nexali checked the calculations twice before implementing the changes. The moment the new settings activated, the containment field around the quantum rift solidified, and the chaotic energy patterns became more controlled. Impossible, Dr. Nexali whispered. How did you solve in minutes what we could not accomplish in weeks? Meanwhile, Sam Rodriguez was in the engineering section with a team of coalition technicians. The aliens watched in amazement as he took apart their containment generators and began modifying them with tools from his equipment pack. Your power coupling efficiency is terrible, Sam told the alien engineers. You're losing 40% of your energy through harmonic interference. A hegemony engineer with 6 arms and gray-scaled skin looked confused. That interference is unavoidable given our technological limitations. Sam smiled and pulled out a small human-made component. Not if you route the power through a quantum buffer. Here, let me show you. Within an hour, Sam had modified 3 of their main generators. The power output increased dramatically and the containment field became much stronger. The alien engineers watched his work with growing excitement and fear. Back on the Meridian, Captain Jake Morrison monitored communications as news of the human arrival spread across coalition space. Ben Hayes translated the alien messages as they came through the ship's receivers. Captain, I'm picking up priority alerts from at least 12 coalition worlds, Ben reported. They're demanding explanations about human presence in their space. Any military responses? Jake asked. Admiral Crixton of the Hegemony Warfleet has issued a general alert. He's ordering all coalition ships to report any contact with human vessels. Sarah Kim turned from her pilot station. Captain, if they start actively looking for us, they'll find our observation posts throughout the galaxy. Jake nodded grimly. Humanity had hidden monitoring stations near every major coalition world. If those were discovered, it would prove that humans had been watching alien civilizations for decades. In the station's main laboratory, Dr. Park continued working with the alien scientists. She had identified the root problem with their containment system and was developing a solution that seemed impossible to the coalition researchers. Dr. Park, Commander Zeftar said quietly, your understanding of quantum mechanics exceeds anything in our databases. How long has your species been studying these phenomena? Long enough, Lisa replied while fine-tuning the containment field parameters. Commander, we need to discuss evacuation procedures. Even with our improvements, this rift is still growing. Dr. Nexali's crystalline body flickered with nervous energy. Evacuation would take 18 hours minimum. We have over 800 researchers on this station. Lisa studied the rift data on her quantum calculator. At current expansion rates, we have maybe 12 hours before cascade failure becomes inevitable. The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Sam Rodriguez entered the lab with his alien engineering team following behind him. His clothes were dirty from working in the station's machinery, but he looked satisfied. Doc, I've increased their power output by 60%, Sam reported. The containment field should hold longer now. Commander Zeftar stared at Sam with his 4 eyes wide with shock. In 3 hours, you accomplished what our best engineers could not do in months. Your engineers are smart, Sam replied. They just needed better tools and some different ideas. Dr. Park looked at the improved readings on her display. Sam, your modifications bought us time, but we're still losing the battle. The rift is adapting to our containment efforts. What do you mean adapting? Dr. Nexali asked. Quantum rifts aren't just tears in space-time, Lisa explained. They have a kind of intelligence. The more we try to contain it, the more it learns to resist our efforts. The alien scientists exchanged worried looks. Their own research had never revealed this property of quantum rifts. So what do we do? Commander Zeftar asked. Lisa studied her calculations for several minutes before speaking. We don't try to contain it. We redirect it. Redirect a quantum rift? Dr. Nexali's voice rose to a higher pitch. That's theoretically impossible. Not impossible, Lisa replied. Just extremely dangerous. We can use the rift's own energy against itself. Create a feedback loop that forces it to collapse. Sam looked at the technical specifications Lisa was showing on her calculator. Doc, this plan requires someone to manually deploy a quantum resonance device inside the rift's event horizon. I know, Lisa said quietly. Commander Zeftar understood immediately. That would be a suicide mission. The pilot would not survive the spatial distortions. The device needs to be placed manually because the rift's energy interferes with remote control signals, Lisa explained. There's no other way. Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system. Dr. Park, I'm monitoring your conversation. I volunteer for the mission. Absolutely not, Captain, Commander Zeftar said quickly. If your people are truly as capable as they appear, your survival is too valuable. Send an automated probe. We don't abandon our own, Jake replied firmly. And we don't ask others to take risks we won't take ourselves. This statement seemed to shock the alien researchers. The coalition had long ago adopted policies of acceptable losses and calculated risks. The idea of a leader volunteering for certain death to save subordinates was alien to their thinking. Pilot Sarah Kim's voice joined the conversation. Captain, I volunteer for the mission. I'm the best pilot we have, but Dr. Park was already working on her calculator again. Wait, I think there's another way. If we can boost the signal strength enough, we might be able to control the device remotely using our ship's advanced AI systems. Sam looked at her calculations and nodded slowly. It could work, but we'd need to modify the Meridian's communication array. How long would that take? Commander Zeftar asked. 4 hours, Sam replied. Dr. Nexali checked the rift expansion projections. The rift will reach critical mass in 6 hours. That gives us only a 2-hour window for deployment. Lisa looked around at the mixed group of human and alien scientists. Then we better get started. As they began preparing for the most dangerous operation any of them had ever attempted, Captain Morrison realized that humanity's hidden capabilities were being revealed with each passing hour. Soon the entire galaxy would know that humans possessed technology and knowledge that rivaled or exceeded the Coalition's greatest achievements. But first they had to save 800 lives and prevent a disaster that could destroy multiple star systems. The quantum rift pulsed larger in the distance, counting down the hours until either salvation or catastrophe. The quantum resonance device was ready, and Sam Rodriguez made final adjustments to the Meridian's communication array while time ran out. Through the viewports of Kepler Station, everyone could see the rift growing larger and more unstable. Lightning danced around its edges, and space itself seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. Dr. Lisa Park stood at the main control station with her quantum calculator displaying the final deployment sequence. Commander Zeftar watched her work while alien scientists from 12 different species gathered around them. The tension in the laboratory was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Dr. Park, Dr. Nexali said with her wind chime voice trembling, the rift has expanded beyond our original projections. Are you certain this plan will work? Lisa looked at her calculations one more time. The physics are sound, but quantum rifts are unpredictable. There's always a chance something could go wrong. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system from the Meridian. Dr. Park, we're ready on this end. The communication array is modified and our AI systems are online. Sarah Kim was in the Meridian's shuttle bay preparing the small craft that would carry the resonance device to the rift. The shuttle had been modified with extra shielding and the most powerful engines they could install in the limited time available. Captain, Sarah reported, the shuttle is ready, but I still think someone should pilot it manually. The spatial distortions around the rift might interfere with our remote control signals. Negative, Jake replied firmly. We stick to Dr. Park's plan. The risk is too great for a manual mission. Ben Hayes monitored Coalition communications from his station, and the news was not good. Captain, I'm detecting massive fleet movements throughout Coalition space. Admiral Crixton has mobilized over 200 warships. What's their destination? Jake asked. Unknown, but they're moving toward the outer rim. Sir, I think they're looking for more human ships. Jake felt his blood run cold. If the Coalition discovered humanity's hidden observation network, it would be seen as an act of espionage or worse. The peaceful first contact he had hoped for was becoming more impossible with each passing hour. Back on the station, Dr. Park began the final countdown sequence. All stations report ready. Initiating device deployment in 60 seconds. The shuttle launched from the Meridian's Bay and began its dangerous journey toward the quantum rift. Everyone watched on the main screens as the small craft approached the twisted space around the Terran reality. The shuttle's hull began to glow from the intense radiation, and its path became erratic as gravitational forces pulled it in different directions. 30 seconds to deployment point, Sarah announced from her remote pilot station. The rift suddenly pulsed larger and the shuttle was caught in a massive wave of distorted spacetime. For a moment it looked like the small craft would be torn apart, but Sarah's expert piloting kept it on course. Deploying resonance device now, Dr. Park announced. The device separated from the shuttle and began its final approach to the rift's event horizon. But as it got closer, the quantum energies around the tear began interfering with their control signals, exactly as Sarah had predicted. I'm losing signal, Ben reported from the Meridian. The device is drifting off course. Dr. Park frantically worked at her controls trying to re-establish contact with the resonance device. The interference is too strong. We need more signal power. Sam Rodriguez was already working on the problem. I can boost the array output, but it might overload our communication systems. Do it, Jake ordered. The Meridian's communication array began pumping out massive amounts of power, trying to penetrate the quantum interference around the rift. Sparks flew from control panels on both the ship and the station as systems strained beyond their design limits. Signal re-established, Ben announced. Devices back on course, but their celebration was short-lived. The massive power output from the Meridian's communication array had been detected by Coalition monitoring stations throughout the sector. Within minutes, military frequencies began buzzing with activity. Captain, Ben said urgently, Coalition forces are demanding our immediate surrender. Admiral Crixton is ordering us to power down and prepare to be boarded. Jake looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 3 minutes until the resonance device reached its deployment point. Ben, ignore all Coalition communications. We finish this mission first. Commander Zeftar stepped forward. Captain Morrison, Admiral Crixton commands the most powerful fleet in Coalition space. If you ignore his orders, he will consider you hostile. Then that's a risk we'll have to take, Jake replied. Dr. Park's voice cut through the tension. Device is approaching final position. Beginning resonance cascade in 90 seconds. On the main screen, everyone could see the small device floating near the event horizon of the quantum rift. The space around it was so distorted that the device appeared to be in several places at once. 60 seconds, Dr. Park announced. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout Kepler Station. Commander Zeftar checked his command console and his 4 eyes went wide with shock. Coalition warships are dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Admiral Crixton has arrived with his entire battle group. Through the station's viewports, they could see dozens of massive alien warships surrounding them. The Coalition vessels were enormous compared to the Meridian and bristled with weapons that could destroy planets. Captain Morrison, a new voice came through the communication channels. It spoke in perfect English with a tone of cold authority. This is Admiral Crixton of the Hegemony Warfleet. You will power down your vessel immediately and prepare to be boarded for interrogation. Jake looked at his countdown timer. 30 seconds remaining. Admiral, we are conducting a rescue operation. 800 lives are at stake. Your unauthorized presence in Coalition space is an act of aggression, Crixton replied. Power down now or we will open fire. Dr. Park's hands flew over her controls. 20 seconds to deployment. Jake made his decision. Admiral, in 20 seconds we will either save this station or everyone here will die. You can shoot us after we finish saving lives. The silence that followed was broken only by the countdown timer reaching its final moments. 10 seconds, Dr. Park announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deploying resonance cascade. The quantum resonance device activated and sent a pulse of energy directly into the heart of the rift. For a moment nothing happened and everyone held their breath. Then the rift began to collapse in on itself like a balloon losing air. The tear in space-time grew smaller and smaller until it finally disappeared completely with a flash of light that lit up the entire sector. The crisis was over and 800 alien lives had been saved. But the silence that followed was more frightening than the quantum rift had been. Dozens of coalition warships surrounded the station, with their weapons trained on the small human vessel that had just demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible. Captain Morrison? Admiral Crixton's voice was quiet and dangerous. You will explain how a primitive species managed to solve a crisis that our best scientists could not handle. Jake looked at his crew and realized that everything was about to change. The galaxy had just witnessed humanity's true capabilities, and the reaction would reshape the entire known universe. Admiral, Jake replied calmly, I think we need to talk. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the conference room aboard Admiral Crixton's flagship, surrounded by the most powerful military leaders in coalition space. The room was enormous, with a curved table that could seat 50 beings from different alien species. Jake felt very small as he looked around at admirals and generals who commanded fleets that could destroy entire star systems. Admiral Crixton was a member of the hegemony species and stood nearly 8 feet tall with armored skin that looked like living metal. His red eyes glowed with intelligence and barely controlled anger as he studied the human sitting across from him. Captain Morrison, Crixton said in his deep voice, you will explain how your species achieved faster than light travel, advanced quantum physics, and stealth technology that our sensors cannot detect. Jake had been dreading this moment since the Meridian first received the distress signal from Kepler Station. Admiral, humanity has been spacefaring for over 2 centuries. We developed our technology independently. Chancellor Valessa of the Centauri Federation leaned forward in her chair. She was a graceful being with blue skin and silver hair who spoke in musical tones. Captain, our records clearly show that humans were confined to a single planet as recently as 50 years ago. Your records are incomplete, Jake replied carefully. We chose not to reveal ourselves until now. The conference room erupted in angry voices as alien leaders demanded explanations. Jake listened to the translations coming through his earpiece as accusations flew around the table. Words like spies and infiltrators appeared frequently in the heated discussions. General Thoxera of the Reptilian Alliance slammed his clawed hand on the table. How many human ships are hidden in our space? How long have you been watching us? Before Jake could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the flagship. Emergency lights bathed the conference room in red as Admiral Crixton received an urgent message on his personal communicator. What is it? Chancellor Valessa asked. Crixton's metal face showed an expression that might have been fear. Long-range sensors have detected something approaching from dark space. It appears to be a void swarm. The conference room fell silent. Jake had heard stories about void swarms from intercepted coalition communications, but had never seen one. They were described as cosmic parasites that devoured entire star systems and converted matter into energy to fuel their expansion. Dr. Nexali entered the room carrying data tablets that sparkled with information. Admiral, the approaching swarm is massive. Our computers estimate over 10,000 individual entities moving at near light speed. Chancellor Valessa's musical voice became strained. How long until they reach inhabited systems? 72 hours, Dr. Nexali replied. Admiral Crixton looked around the table at his fellow commanders. We need to mobilize every ship in the coalition fleet. Send the evacuation orders to all frontier worlds. Jake listened to the planning discussions with growing concern. The coalition's battle tactics were predictable, and their weapons technology was impressive but limited. They thought in terms of massive fleet engagements and overwhelming firepower. Admiral, Jake said quietly, may I make a suggestion? Crixton's red eyes focused on him. You want to help fight the void swarm? Your single ship against 10,000 enemies. Not just my ship, Jake replied. He activated his communicator and spoke in English. Ben, send the recall signal to all human vessels in this sector. The aliens around the table looked confused until the flagship's sensors began detecting new contacts appearing throughout the area. One by one, human ships decloaked from their hiding places among asteroids and behind moons. Within an hour, over 50 advanced vessels had revealed themselves. Admiral Crixton stared at the tactical display showing human ships that should not have existed. Impossible. How did so many vessels remain hidden from our sensors? We've been preparing for this day for a long time, Jake said simply. The first contact with the Void Swarm came 18 hours later when Coalition scout ships encountered the leading edge of the invasion force. The reports that came back were terrifying. The Void entities looked like living darkness that consumed everything in their path. They absorbed energy weapons and adapted to every tactic the Coalition forces tried. Admiral Crixton's fleet engaged the swarm in a massive battle near the edge of the star system. The Coalition ships fought bravely, but their conventional weapons had little effect on enemies that could adapt to any attack. Within hours, the alien fleet was forced to retreat. Our weapons are useless, General Thoxra reported grimly. The swarm learns to counter every strategy we employ. That was when the human ships revealed their true capabilities. Captain Morrison's expanded fleet didn't just have advanced technology. They had weapons and tactics that the Void Swarm had never encountered. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed impossible and fired weapons that adapted faster than the swarm could counter them. Dr. Lisa Parks' understanding of quantum physics allowed her to predict swarm movement patterns before they happened. Sam Rodriguez had modified human weapons with Coalition technology, creating hybrid systems that confused the enemy's adaptive abilities. Sarah Kim led mixed squadrons of human and alien fighters in maneuvers that devastated swarm formations. But the real shock came when Admiral Kate Rogers arrived with the main human fleet. Earth's Solar Defense Force had been monitoring the situation and deployed their most advanced warships. The human vessels that appeared were larger and more sophisticated than anything in Coalition space. Admiral Rogers was a stern woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She took command of the combined human forces with efficiency that amazed the Coalition officers. Admiral Crixton, we're here to help, but we do this our way. The turning point in the battle came when the humans revealed their ultimate advantage. They didn't just react to threats, they anticipated them. Earth's monitoring networks had detected the Void Swarm's approach months earlier. Everything from humanity's hidden expansion to their advanced technology had been preparation for exactly this kind of crisis. The combined human and Coalition forces fought the swarm for 3 days. Human ingenuity and Coalition firepower proved to be an unstoppable combination. When conventional tactics failed, the humans improvised impossible solutions. When the swarm adapted to their weapons, they developed new ones in the middle of battle. The final assault required Captain Morrison to pilot an experimental ship deep into the swarm's formation. His mission was to deploy a quantum disruption device that Dr. Park had designed specifically to interfere with the swarm's collective consciousness. Jake, you don't have to do this, Admiral Rogers said over the communication channel. We can find another way. Admiral, sometimes the right thing to do is also the dangerous thing, Jake replied. Besides, I started this when I answered that distress signal. Morrison's ship dove into the heart of the swarm while human and Coalition forces provided cover. The quantum disruption device activated successfully, and the swarm's coordination collapsed. Without their collective intelligence, the Void entities became confused and vulnerable. The combined fleet destroyed the remaining invaders and saved the galaxy. In the aftermath of the battle, Admiral Crixton stood with Jake Morrison on the observation deck of the Coalition flagship. The metal-skinned alien looked out at the human ships that had saved his civilization. Captain Morrison, I owe you an apology, Crixton said quietly. We thought your species was primitive, but you were more advanced than any of us realized. We weren't hiding because we were afraid, Jake replied. We were watching and learning because we wanted to understand who you were before we revealed who we are. Chancellor Valessa joined them at the observation window. And who are you, Captain Morrison? Jake smiled as he watched human and alien ships working together to rescue survivors from the battle. We are humanity, Chancellor, and we are here to help. The distress signal from Kepler Station had been answered by more than just a rescue ship. It had been answered by a species that would change what it meant to be civilized in a dangerous galaxy. The Coalition learned that sometimes the most terrifying thing in the universe was not an enemy with superior weapons, but a friend willing to sacrifice everything to do what was right. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. The massive ship floated in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. The UES Goliath stretched 15 kilometers from nose to tail and 3 kilometers wide at its thickest point. No human had ever built anything this large before. The ship looked like a flying city with thousands of lights blinking across its hull. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and watched his crew work at their stations. The bridge sat at the front of the ship and had windows that showed the stars ahead. Jake was 45 years old with gray hair and steady hands. He had spent 20 years in Earth's Space Navy waiting for this moment. "All systems are green, Captain," said Chief Engineer Lisa Carter from her station. Lisa was a small woman with red hair who knew every bolt and wire on the ship. She had helped build the Goliath over the past 5 years. The ship had taken the combined efforts of every nation on Earth to complete. Jake nodded and looked at the main screen. It showed a map of their destination in the Kepler 442 system. Strange energy readings had been detected there by deep space probes. Earth Command wanted to know what was causing the readings. Navigation Officer Parker, "How long until we reach the target system?" Jake asked. Chris Parker was young for a navigation officer at only 28 years old. He had the best grades in stellar navigation that the Academy had ever seen. 3 days at current speed, Captain. The new fusion drives are working perfectly. The Goliath had 4 massive fusion engines that could push the ship faster than any vessel Earth had built before. The ship also carried weapons that had never been tested in real combat. Quantum torpedo launchers lined both sides of the hull. Plasma lance arrays could fire beams of superheated matter across vast distances. Communications. "Any word from Earth Command?" Jake asked. Amy Rodriguez sat at the communication station with her headset on. She was listening to messages from Earth that took hours to reach them. "Admiral Williams sends her best wishes, Captain. She says the whole planet is watching." Jake smiled at that. Every person on Earth knew about the Goliath's mission. The ship carried 50,000 crew members, including soldiers, scientists, engineers, and medical staff. It was like a small city traveling through space. Dr. Helen Price walked onto the bridge carrying a tablet computer. She was the head of the science department and one of the smartest people Jake knew. "Captain, I've been studying the energy readings from our destination. They don't match anything in our databases." "What do you think they are, Doctor?" Jake asked. Helen shook her head. "I honestly don't know. The energy patterns are too complex to be natural. Something is generating them." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had never found proof of alien life before. Radio telescopes had listened for signals for over a century without success. If something artificial was in the Kepler system, it would change everything. "Tactical Officer Turner, what's the status of our weapons?" Jake asked. Ben Turner was a large man with thick arms from years of military training. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion and knew combat better than anyone on the ship. "All weapon systems are operational, Captain. Shields are at full power. If we run into trouble, we're ready." The Goliath's shields could stop almost any weapon that Earth could build. The ship's armor was 3 meters thick in some places. It had been designed to survive anything the universe could throw at it. Jake walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere ahead of them was the unknown. His job was to take humanity's greatest achievement into that darkness and bring back answers. "All departments, this is the captain speaking," Jake said into his communication device. His voice echoed through every corridor and room on the ship. "We are now 3 days from our destination. I want all systems checked twice. We don't know what we'll find out there, but we're going to be ready for anything." The crew had trained for 2 years before this mission. They knew their jobs better than anyone in human history. The Goliath represented the best that humanity could achieve when they worked together. Admiral Kate Williams watched from Earth Command as reports came in from the Goliath. She was an older woman who had spent her entire life in space. She had commanded the first mission to Jupiter and had seen humanity spread across the solar system. "The Goliath is performing beyond expectations," reported her aide. "All systems are working perfectly." Kate nodded but felt worried. The energy readings from Kepler 442 had been growing stronger for months. Whatever was out there seemed to be getting more active. She hoped Jake and his crew were ready for what they might find. Back on the Goliath, Jake returned to his private quarters for the night. His room was small but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and window showing space outside. He looked at a picture of his wife and children back on Earth. They were proud of him, but he knew they were also scared. Jake had volunteered for this mission because he believed humanity needed to reach for the stars. Earth was getting crowded and resources were running low. If humans were going to survive in the long term, they needed to find new worlds to live on. The next morning brought routine work as the ship continued toward its destination. Engineers checked the fusion reactors. Scientists studied the strange energy readings. Soldiers practiced combat drills in case they were needed. On the second day, long-range sensors began picking up new signals. They were faint but definitely artificial. Something in the Kepler system was sending out radio waves in patterns that no natural process could create. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Communications Officer Rodriguez from her station. Jake hurried over and looked at her screen. It showed radio signals coming from their destination. The signals were complex with mathematical patterns that clearly showed intelligence behind them. "How many sources are we detecting?" Jake asked. Amy adjusted her controls and listened carefully. "At least 12 different signal sources, Captain. Maybe more. They're all coming from the same general area." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. 12 different signal sources meant multiple ships or bases. Humanity was not alone in the universe after all. "Alert all departments," Jake ordered. "We may have found what we're looking for." The bridge became busy as crew members prepared for possible contact with alien life. No one knew what to expect. The signals could be from peaceful explorers or dangerous enemies. As the third day began, the Goliath sensors detected something that made everyone stop and stare. Ahead of them was not just one or two alien ships, but an entire fleet. More than 200 vessels of various sizes were gathered in the Kepler system. Jake looked at the display showing all those ships and realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer alone, and the Goliath was flying straight into the unknown. The alien fleet spread across space like a wall of metal and light. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the main screen showing more than 200 ships of different shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant insects with multiple arms extending from their hulls. Others were smooth and round like pearls floating in the darkness. A few had strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "My God," whispered Dr. Helen Price as she studied the sensor readings. "Captain, these ships represent at least 12 different construction methods. We're looking at vessels from multiple alien species." Jake felt sweat on his forehead but kept his voice steady. "I'll stop. Reduce speed to 0 and hold position here." The Goliath's massive engines powered down, and the ship drifted to a halt still several million kilometers from the alien fleet. The distance was close enough for detailed scans, but far enough to avoid seeming threatening. Communications Officer Rodriguez, "Are you picking up any signals from those ships?" Jake asked. Amy Rodriguez had her headset on and was listening intently to dozens of different transmissions. "Captain, I'm hearing at least 15 different languages. The patterns are completely unlike anything in our databases. Some sound like music, others like static, and a few sound almost like whale songs." Chief Engineer Lisa Carter looked up from her station with concern on her face. "Captain, several of those ships are much larger than ours. The biggest one is almost 20 kilometers long. Their energy signatures are off the charts." Jake nodded and walked to the tactical station where Ben Turner was studying the alien vessels. "What's your assessment, tactical officer?" Ben's jaw was tight with tension. "Captain, at least 50 of those ships are showing weapon signatures. They're not pointing them at us yet, but they're definitely armed. The good news is our shields and armor appear stronger than most of what I'm seeing." The bridge fell quiet except for the hum of electronics and the distant sound of the ship's life support systems. Everyone was thinking the same thing. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. "Captain," called out Amy from communications, "I'm detecting a change in their transmission patterns. Several ships are now broadcasting directly toward us." Jake straightened his uniform and made a decision that would echo through history. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to attempt first contact with alien civilizations. I want everyone to remain calm and follow orders. We represent all of humanity today." The largest alien ship began moving slowly toward the Goliath. It was a massive vessel that looked like a crystal cathedral floating through space. Transparent sections showed lights moving inside like living thoughts. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain, that ship is transmitting mathematical sequences directly at us," Amy reported. "It's starting with prime numbers, then moving to geometric patterns. I think they're trying to establish basic communication." Dr. Price hurried to the communication station and began working with Amy to decode the alien signals. Captain, this is brilliant. They're using universal mathematical concepts that any intelligent species would understand. Give me a few minutes and I think we can respond. Jake watched the alien ship approach while his science team worked frantically to establish communication. The vessel stopped about 1 million kilometers away and began transmitting more complex patterns. Lights on its hull blinked in sequences that clearly showed intelligence behind them. Got it, shouted Dr. Price with excitement. Captain, I can translate their basic message. They're asking us to identify ourselves and state our intentions. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were the best and brightest humans alive, and they were all looking to him for leadership. He walked to the communication station and picked up the transmission device. Dr. Price, translate this message and send it back to them. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Goliath representing the human species from the planet Earth. We come in peace seeking knowledge and friendship with other intelligent life. Dr. Price worked quickly to convert Jake's words into mathematical patterns that could be transmitted to the aliens. The message went out across space carrying humanity's first words to another species. The response came back within minutes. Amy listened carefully and translated with Dr. Price's help. Captain, they're asking about our ship. They want to know how we built something so large and powerful. Jake realized that the aliens were impressed by the Goliath. That was both good and bad news. It meant they respected human technology, but it also might make them see humans as a threat. More ships began moving closer to observe the massive human vessel. Jake could see them through the bridge windows as small points of light that grew larger as they approached. Each ship was different, showing the diversity of alien civilizations gathered here. Captain, I'm detecting energy spikes from multiple alien vessels, reported Ben Turner. They're powering up weapon systems, but they're not targeting us directly. I think they're just being cautious. Jake made another important decision. Tactical Officer Turner, raise our shields to full power but do not charge weapons. I want them to see that we're defensive but not aggressive. The Goliath shields activated with a blue glow that surrounded the entire ship. The energy field was visible to the naked eye and clearly showed the vessel's defensive capabilities. Several alien ships immediately responded by backing away to a safer distance. Captain, we're receiving a new transmission, Amy announced. It's coming from a different ship. This one looks like a massive metal tree with branches extending in all directions. Dr. Price worked to translate the new message. Captain, this ship identifies itself as representing the Galactic Commerce Guild. They're welcoming us to this region of space and requesting a formal meeting. Jake felt his heart pounding. A galactic government had just invited humanity to make official contact. Everything they did next would determine whether humans became part of this larger community or remained isolated on Earth. Send this response, Jake told Dr. Price. We accept your invitation to meet. We are honored by your welcome and hope to establish peaceful relations between our species. As the message went out, Jake noticed that more alien ships were arriving. The fleet was growing larger by the hour, as word spread through their communication networks about the appearance of the massive human vessel. Captain, I'm counting over 300 ships now, reported Chris Parker from navigation. They're coming from all directions. Some of those new arrivals are truly enormous. Dr. Price looked up from her work with amazement on her face. Captain, I'm picking up fragments of their internal communications. They're calling us the builders of the great vessel. They seem to think our ship is some kind of mobile fortress. Jake smiled grimly. The Goliath was indeed a fortress, but it was also humanity's greatest achievement. The ship represented everything humans could accomplish when they worked together toward a common goal. The crystal ship that had first approached them sent another message. This time it included visual images along with the mathematical patterns. The images showed the interior of their vessel with tall, graceful beings that looked like living plants made of silver and light. Captain, they're inviting a small group from our ship to visit their vessel for face-to-face contact, Dr. Price translated. They're offering to send representatives to the Goliath as well. Jake looked out at the growing alien fleet and made the decision that would change human history forever. Send this message. We accept your invitation and look forward to meeting face-to-face. The shuttle bay of the Goliath buzzed with activity as Commander Alex Hughes prepared for the most important mission in human history. Alex was a tall man with steady nerves who had led dozens of dangerous missions in Earth's outer colonies. Today he would represent humanity in face-to-face contact with alien beings. Remember, we don't know their customs or what might offend them, Dr. Helen Price said as she checked her translation device one more time. Let me do most of the talking until we understand how they communicate. Alex nodded and looked at his small team. Besides Dr. Price, he was taking Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez and a single security guard named Tony Brooks. Tony was armed but had orders to keep his weapons hidden unless absolutely necessary. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the shuttle bay's observation deck as the team boarded their small transport ship. The shuttle was tiny compared to the Goliath, but it was the most advanced vessel that Earth had built before the Great Warship. Jake felt nervous about sending his people into the unknown, but this meeting could determine humanity's future among the stars. "Shuttle is away, Captain," reported the bay controller. "They'll reach the alien vessel in 20 minutes. Jake returned to the bridge where the main screen showed the alien fleet surrounding them. More ships had arrived during the night, and the count was now over 400 vessels. Each ship was different, showing the incredible diversity of species that had gathered to witness humanity's first contact. The crystal ship that would host the meeting was called the Harmony of Thoughts according to the translations they had worked out. It belonged to a species called the Valthians, who seemed to be natural diplomats. Their ambassador was named Zekthar, though the humans had no idea how to pronounce it correctly. As Alex's shuttle approached the alien vessel, he could see other small ships arriving from different directions. Each carried representatives from various alien species who wanted to witness this historic moment. The meeting would include 12 different civilizations. "Commander Hughes, this is the Goliath," came Jake's voice over the radio. "How are you doing over there?" Alex looked out the shuttle window at the massive crystal ship growing larger ahead of them. "Captain, this vessel is beautiful. It looks like a cathedral made of living light. I can see beings moving around inside through the transparent sections." The Valthian ship guided the human shuttle to a docking bay that adjusted its size to fit the smaller vessel. As Alex and his team stepped out, they found themselves in a room filled with soft musical sounds and gentle lighting that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The first alien Alex saw took his breath away. Ambassador Zekthar stood 3 meters tall with a body that looked like silver tree branches woven together in the shape of a person. Tiny lights moved through the alien's body like glowing sap, flowing through transparent veins. When Zekthar spoke, the words sounded like wind chimes mixed with ocean waves. Dr. Price's translation device worked hard to convert the alien's speech into English. "Welcome, builders of the great vessel. I am Zekthar, voice of the Vielthian Confederacy. Your ship has caused much discussion among the gathered civilizations." Alex stepped forward and tried to remain calm despite the strangeness of the situation. "I am Commander Alex Hughes, representing Captain Jake Morrison and the human species. We are honored to meet you and grateful for your welcome." Other aliens began entering the meeting chamber, and Alex's eyes widened at the variety of life forms. There were insect-like beings with multiple arms and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Creatures that looked like living rocks moved slowly across the floor, leaving trails of glowing dust behind them. One species appeared to be made entirely of swirling gas held together by some kind of energy field. "Your vessel is unprecedented in our experience," said a new voice. This came from a being that looked like a giant butterfly with wings that showed swirling galaxies instead of normal patterns. "We have never seen a single ship with such massive weapons and defensive capabilities." Dr. Price translated Alex's response. "The Goliath represents humanity's greatest technological achievement. We built it to explore the galaxy and protect our people as we venture into the unknown." A third alien spoke up. This one resembled a walking crystal formation with multiple faces that reflected light in strange ways. "Your species is new to interstellar travel, yet you have built a vessel that could challenge entire star nations. How is this possible?" Alex realized that the aliens were both impressed and concerned by human technology. He needed to be honest but also reassuring. "Humans have always been good at building things and solving problems. Our planet has many different environments and challenges, so we learned to create tools that work in any situation." Ambassador Zekthar's lights pulsed in what seemed like agreement. "Yes, we have studied your radio transmissions for many decades. Your species shows remarkable adaptability and innovation, but such power in the hands of newcomers concerns some of our members." The meeting continued for hours as the aliens asked questions about human technology, culture, and intentions. Alex learned that the galaxy was home to hundreds of intelligent species, organized into various alliances and trade groups. The Galactic Commerce Guild was the largest organization, maintaining peace through economic cooperation rather than military force. Your arrival changes the balance of power in this region, explained an alien that looked like a living plant with flowers for eyes. Most conflicts here are resolved through negotiation and economic pressure. Single ships rarely matter in such disputes. Alex began to understand the situation. The galaxy had achieved relative peace by ensuring that no single species could dominate others militarily. The appearance of the Goliath threatened this balance because it was powerful enough to tip the scales in any conflict. "We don't want to threaten anyone," Alex assured them. "Humans prefer to solve problems through talking rather than fighting. We built the Goliath to be strong enough to protect ourselves, not to conquer others." A new alien entered the chamber, and Alex could sense the tension level rise immediately. This being was covered in dark metal armor and had red eyes that glowed like burning coals. When it spoke, the words came out like grinding metal. "I am War Leader Krex of the Dominion Fleet," the armored alien announced. "We have come to assess this human threat to galactic stability. Your vessel's weapons could destroy entire planets." Dr. Price's translation device struggled with the harsh alien language, but the meaning was clear. Not all species welcomed humanity's arrival. Some saw the Goliath as a weapon that upset the careful balance they had worked centuries to maintain. Alex kept his voice calm and respectful. "War Leader Krex, humans have no desire to destroy planets or threaten peaceful species. We built our ship to be strong because we didn't know what we might find in the galaxy. Now that we know you exist, we hope to become friends and trading partners." Ambassador Zekthar's lights flickered rapidly, which Dr. Price's device translated as concern. "War Leader Krex speaks for a faction that believes new species should be carefully controlled until they prove themselves peaceful. Your ship's power makes such control impossible." Alex realized he was in the middle of a political situation that could determine whether humanity was welcomed into galactic civilization or treated as a threat to be contained. Everything he said now would affect the future of his entire species. "Perhaps we can demonstrate our peaceful intentions," Alex suggested. "What if we shared some of our technology with species that need it? Humans are good at building things that help people." The suggestion caused excited discussion among the various aliens. Several species seemed very interested in human engineering capabilities, while others remained suspicious of humanity's motives. War Leader Krex stepped closer to Alex, his red eyes glowing brighter. "Actions speak louder than words, human. We will watch your great vessel and see if your species truly seeks peace or conquest." As the meeting ended, Alex felt both hopeful and worried. Humanity had made contact with galactic civilization, but the road ahead would be challenging. The galaxy's response to the Goliath would determine whether humans became partners or enemies in the vast community of stars. The Goliath's main conference room had been transformed into a diplomatic center, unlike anything in human history. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the head of a massive table surrounded by holographic projections of alien representatives from across the galaxy. The room hummed with translation, devices working to convert dozens of different languages into something humans could understand, Admiral. Kate Williams had arrived 3 days earlier, aboard the escort ship UES Guardian along with a small fleet of Earth's most advanced vessels. The Admiral was a stern woman with silver hair, who had commanded space operations for over 20 years. She sat beside Jake and studied the alien faces on the screens with sharp eyes. "The Galactic Commerce Guild has made an unprecedented offer," announced Ambassador Zekthar through the holographic display. The Velthian silver form pulsed with gentle lights as he spoke. "We invite humanity to join our organization with full membership rights and immediate access to 12 star systems for colonization." Jake felt his heart race at the implications. 12 star systems would give humanity room to grow for centuries. It was beyond anything Earth's leaders had hoped for when they launched the Goliath. "However," continued a new voice, this one belonging to the butterfly-like being called High Counselor Vex, "we require certain guarantees from your species. The galaxy has maintained peace through careful balance. Your vessel disrupts that balance." Admiral Williams leaned forward and spoke for the first time. "What kind of guarantees are you seeking?" The crystal-faced alien named Prime Negotiator Quen answered with multiple voices speaking in harmony. We propose that humanity agrees to build additional vessels like the Goliath to serve as neutral peacekeepers. Your ships would patrol disputed regions and prevent conflicts before they start. Jake exchanged glances with Admiral Williams. The request was both flattering and concerning. The aliens wanted to use human military power to maintain galactic peace, but that would make Earth responsible for conflicts they barely understood. We need time to discuss this with our government, Admiral Williams said carefully. These are major decisions that affect our entire species. Dr. Helen Price looked up from her translation console with excitement on her face. Admiral Captain, I've been analyzing their technology databases. These species have scientific knowledge that could advance human civilization by centuries. Medical techniques that could cure diseases we've never solved. Energy systems that could power our cities forever. The temptation was enormous. Joining the galactic community would give humanity access to knowledge and resources beyond imagination. But it would also make Earth part of political conflicts that had been going on for thousands of years. There is another matter we must address, said War Leader Krex, the armored alien whose voice still sounded like grinding metal. Some species in this galaxy do not welcome newcomers with such military capability. The hegemony of pure thought considers your vessel a threat to established order. A new holographic display activated showing a fleet of sleek black ships approaching from the edge of the system. These vessels moved with perfect coordination and showed no individual design variations. They looked like they had been grown rather than built. The hegemony believes that powerful newcomers must prove their worthiness through trial by combat, Krex continued. They are sending a war fleet to challenge your great vessel. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. How many ships are they sending? 57 vessels of their primary battle class, answered Ambassador Zekthar with obvious concern. The hegemony rarely acts directly, but your ship's power has convinced them that immediate action is necessary. Admiral Williams stood up, and her voice carried the authority of decades in command. Captain Morrison, prepare the Goliath for possible combat. I want all weapon systems checked and shields at maximum power. Jake activated the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We have a potential hostile fleet approaching. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Throughout the massive ship, 50,000 crew members moved to their emergency positions. Weapon crews loaded the quantum torpedo launchers, while engineers brought the fusion reactors to full power. The plasma lance arrays charged with energy that could melt through solid metal from thousands of kilometers away. Captain, called out Tactical Officer Ben Turner from his station. The approaching ships are maintaining formation, but they haven't powered weapons yet. They're definitely military vessels, though. Dr. Helen Price worked frantically at her console. Captain, I'm intercepting their communications. The hegemony ships are demanding that we prove our strength in single combat. They want to fight the Goliath one ship at a time until we're defeated or they run out of vessels. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. Each hegemony ship was about half the size of the Goliath, but they were designed purely for warfare. Their hulls showed weapon ports and armor plating that spoke of a species devoted to military perfection. Admiral, what are your orders? Jake asked. Admiral Williams studied the display with the calculating look of a veteran commander. Captain, we didn't come this far to back down from a fight. If they want to test our strength, we'll show them what human engineering can accomplish. Ambassador Zekthar's image flickered with rapid light patterns that the translation system interpreted as extreme concern. Admiral Williams, the hegemony has never been defeated in single combat. Their ships are crewed by beings bred specifically for warfare. Perhaps negotiation would be wiser. Sometimes the only way to earn respect is to show strength, Admiral Williams replied. If we run from this fight, every species in the galaxy will see humans as weak. We'll accept their challenge. The first hegemony ship broke away from their fleet and approached the Goliath. It was a sleek vessel covered in strange symbols that seemed to move across its hull like living writing. As it came closer, Jake could see weapon ports opening along its sides. Incoming transmission from the hegemony vessel, reported Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez. They're challenging us to honorable combat according to their ancient traditions. Jake walked to the center of the bridge and felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The next few hours would determine whether humanity earned a place among the stars or was driven back to Earth in defeat. Send this response, Jake told Amy. We accept your challenge. The United Earthship Goliath will face your vessel in single combat. The hegemony ship moved to a position 1,000 kilometers away and began powering its weapons. Energy readings showed that it carried armaments capable of destroying most vessels in a single strike. But the Goliath was not most vessels. "All weapons ready, Captain," reported Ben Turner. "Shields at maximum power. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These men and women represented the best that humanity could produce. They had trained for years to operate the most advanced warship ever built. Now they would find out if human technology and determination could stand against an enemy that had never known defeat. "Fire when ready." "Tactical officer," Jake ordered. The first shot of humanity's entry into galactic warfare lit up the darkness of space as quantum torpedoes streaked toward the enemy ship. The alien vessel responded with beams of pure energy that struck the Goliath's shields in brilliant flashes of light. The battle for humanity's future had begun, and the entire galaxy was watching to see who would emerge victorious. The space between the Goliath and the hegemony ship filled with deadly energy as both vessels unleashed their weapons. Quantum torpedoes from the human ship exploded against alien shields in brilliant flashes of blue light, while enemy plasma beams struck the Goliath's defensive barriers with tremendous force. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the command chair as the ship shook under enemy fire. The bridge lights flickered but remained steady as Chief Engineer Lisa Carter's team kept the power systems running at maximum efficiency. Through the windows, Jake could see the alien vessel maneuvering with incredible speed despite its large size. "Direct hit on their forward shields," reported Tactical Officer Ben Turner with satisfaction. "Their defensive energy is down to 60%. The hegemony ship responded by firing a massive energy beam that struck the Goliath's port side. The human ship's shields flared white-hot as they absorbed the attack, but they held firm against the alien weapon. "Our shields are holding at 85%, called out Lisa Carter from her engineering station. "The new defensive systems are working better than we hoped." Jake felt pride in his crew and ship, but he knew the battle was far from over. The hegemony vessel was powerful, and its crew clearly knew how to fight. However, the Goliath had advantages that the aliens had not expected. "Target their weapon systems," Jake ordered. "Let's see how they handle our plasma lance arrays." The Goliath's most powerful weapons charged with energy that made the air itself hum with electricity. 6 massive plasma beams fired simultaneously at the enemy ship, each one carrying enough power to melt through solid metal armor. The alien vessel's shields collapsed under the concentrated fire, and 2 of the plasma beams struck its hull directly. Sections of the enemy ship's armor melted away like ice under a blowtorch, revealing the internal structure beneath. "Enemy vessel is venting atmosphere," reported Ben Turner. "Looks like we breached their hull in multiple places." The hegemony ship tried to retreat to a safer distance, but the Goliath's weapons had a longer range than expected. Jake watched as his crew continued the attack with precision and determination that would have made Earth proud. "They're surrendering," announced Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez with surprise in her voice. "The hegemony ship is transmitting a message of defeat and withdrawal." Jake felt relief wash over him as the enemy vessel limped away from the battle zone. The Goliath had faced its first real test against alien technology and emerged victorious. More importantly, they had done it without destroying the enemy ship or killing its crew. "Excellent work, everyone," Jake announced to his crew. "You've just won humanity's first space battle against an alien opponent." The holographic displays in the conference room showed dozens of alien species reacting to the battle's outcome. Some looked amazed. Others seemed worried, but all of them clearly understood that humanity was now a major power in the galaxy. Ambassador Zekthar's silver form pulsed with rapid lights as he spoke. "Captain Morrison, your victory over the hegemony is unprecedented. No species has defeated them in single combat for over 3 centuries. Admiral Kate Williams stood beside Jake with a satisfied expression on her weathered face. The Goliath performed exactly as designed. Human engineering and training proved superior to an enemy that was supposed to be unbeatable. War leader Krex, the armored alien who had previously seemed hostile, now spoke with what sounded like respect. "The Dominion fleet acknowledges human strength. Your species has earned the right to be treated as equals in galactic affairs." Dr. Helen Price looked up from her console with excitement. "Captain, I'm receiving messages from over 40 different species. They're all requesting trade agreements and technology exchanges with humanity." Jake realized that winning the battle had changed everything. Instead of being seen as dangerous newcomers, humans were now viewed as valuable allies who could provide protection and advanced technology to other species. The Galactic Commerce Guild formally welcomes humanity as a full member, announced High Counselor Vex, the butterfly-like alien whose wings showed swirling galaxies. We offer immediate access to 15 star systems instead of the original 12, along with full trading rights throughout guild space. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the Goliath as it patrolled the border between two alien territories that had been in conflict for decades. The massive human ship's presence had ended the fighting without a single shot being fired. Both sides preferred negotiation to facing the vessel that had defeated the mighty hegemony. The ship itself had become famous throughout the galaxy. Alien children played with toy models of the Goliath while their parents spoke of the peaceful giants from Earth who protected the weak and maintained justice among the stars. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Johnson now commanded a growing diplomatic corps with offices on dozens of alien worlds. Steve was a patient man with a gift for understanding different cultures, and he had helped establish human embassies throughout guild space. Trade between Earth and alien civilizations had brought prosperity to both humans and their new partners. Chief Engineer Lisa Carter had been promoted to head of technological development for the entire guild. Her innovations in faster-than-light travel had revolutionized space transportation, while her improvements to defensive systems had made all guild worlds safer from outside threats. Dr. Helen Price published research papers that were studied on hundreds of planets. Her work on interspecies communication had made it possible for different alien cultures to understand each other better than ever before. The galaxy had become more united thanks to human scientific advances. Back on Earth, construction had begun on 6 additional Titan-class warships. Each new vessel incorporated improvements learned from contact with alien technology, making them even more powerful than the original Goliath. The ships would serve as peacekeepers throughout guild space, ensuring that conflicts were resolved through words rather than weapons. Jake received a message from Earth Command informing him that the newest ship, the UES Atlas, was ready for its maiden voyage. The Atlas would be commanded by Captain Maria Santos, who had trained under Jake's supervision. She would take her ship to explore regions of the galaxy that remained unmapped. Captain Morrison to the bridge, came the announcement over the ship's communication system. Jake left the observation deck and walked through corridors filled with both human and alien crew members working together. The Goliath now served as a training ship, where young beings from dozens of species learned to operate advanced technology. On the bridge, Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez reported that they were receiving a distress call from a research station near the galactic core. An ancient automated defense system had activated and was threatening to destroy an entire solar system. Set course for the galactic core, Jake ordered, maximum speed. As the Goliath's engines powered up for the journey, Jake thought about how much had changed since their first contact with alien life. Humanity had gone from being alone in the universe to becoming leaders of a galactic community dedicated to peace and exploration. The ship's newest crew member, a young Velthian named Silandra, worked alongside Tony Brooks at the tactical station. Tony had been promoted to Chief of Security and now trained alien officers in human military techniques. The sight of different species working together filled Jake with hope for the future. The Goliath jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its mixed crew toward another crisis that required human strength and alien wisdom working together. Behind them, the galaxy continued to grow more peaceful and prosperous thanks to the partnership between humanity and the stars. Jake smiled as he watched his crew prepare for their next mission. The human species had reached for the stars and found not enemies but friends waiting to welcome them home.